Okay, so let's start again. So today is October the 29th, 2020, and you're listening to a new human experience podcast. And the topic for this evening is balancing the heart. All of October, our theme is balance. And this is the last week, the last episode of the month of talking about or focusing our exploration into balance. What does balance mean? And so the last bit, and also the very important is how to balance our heart, because our heart is really the mediator between our soul and our body. And it is really the gateway between the visible and the non-visible parts of who we are. And if we can have a balanced heart, then it's actually really important to allow us to move into fifth dimension without too much difficulty. So, and I would like to give you all kind of an analogy so that you can really understand why this is so. Because if you think of your soul as a light source, and your heart is kind of the lens, or it's like just a piece of glass or a prism, whatever you would like to think of it, is the lens through which our soul is is able to shine on us, shine on our light. So the more if our heart or the lens that the light is shining through is free of distortion, and um, it is clear, it is not scratched and not broken in any way, then the light of our soul can simply just shine through us and be able to and we would be able to experience our life much closer to who we are as a soul. And so that's why our heart is so important, and keeping our heart balance is also so important, a step in getting into the fifth dimension, and also being able to experience who we truly are. So how do we know that our heart is balanced or not balanced? So who are we? We are simply joy, light, love. I am that way, you are that way. Everybody, every soul is that way. We started out as joy, light, love. And when we incarnate on this planet, though, the in third dimension, in 3D, in third dimension, the way we play on Earth, the is that we focus on a body. So when we focus on our body, especially in the last 10,000 years or so, we we really play at a 3D level, and well, some may argue that maybe even less than 3D. We maybe some people are only 2D in the second dimension. So, however, most of our experience, most of the of us, the way we create our life is we are all focused on the body. We focus on the body that we have. So because we focus on this, we think we are this body. And even though every now and then we will have moments of um, experiencing something that is bigger than this body or more than this body. However, that is only glimpses of it. And that's what the third dimension is about. And because we are so focused on the body, so we manage to create a lot of distortion to our heart. So I can't really talk about how other people's heart is distorted. I can only share my own experience. So I know if those of you who have been like regulars on this podcast would know that my experience with my mother is um, we don't we don't see eye to eye. Let's put it that way. We don't see eye to eye. And I remember at one point in my life, the story that I have in my mind is that I don't have support because my mother does not support me. And every time, like when we interact with each other, it is this idea that what my mother believes in is very different from what I believe in my soul. From the bottom of my heart, what resonate with me is very different from what resonates with my mom. So I have this story that my mother does not support me, and I think, and so and beyond that, I think I haven't quite shared that even um, recently, as in maybe the last 2 years, is that there is this divide or I wouldn't say really disagreement, but really um, that my daughter started to pull away from me. Not that like she was mean to me and nothing like that. It's just that she has her own way of thinking, and and of course there's this story. The story in my mind is that the ego, the story creator, tells me that you worked so hard, you made all these sacrifices for your daughter, and then she turns around and just don't don't agree with what I say and don't take my word for things. And like we argue about things like vaccination, because my belief that vaccination is not good for you, and because in her way of thinking, she thinks there are good vaccines. So we kind of don't see eye to eye, and that's just the top, the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of other things that she has her own way of thinking, and I have my way of thinking. So like if I listen to my story making machine, my ego, then it would be like, oh, that's terrible. My mom doesn't support me, and my daughter does not uh, is kind of invalidates my whole life. I can throw this story in, and that's at the 3D level. That is what at a 3D level, that seems like what it is that I'm going through. However, because I am who I am, so I'm able to really stand back and look at this ego, this story making machine, and be able to have look at all this story from a very different perspective. And the different perspective, the perspective from my soul, is that my mother has to be, or was kind of taken the role of who she is with me, so that she can support me in a very roundabout way, um, so that she's actually playing the role that on some level I needed her to play in order to um, I would say make me find another way to make sense of life. So, in a way, my mother really helped me to um, go into the spirituality, to look deep within myself, so that I can find an alternative answer that makes sense to me, that really resonate with myself. So, my mother is actually very supportive of me at a different level. And with my daughter as well. My daughter, she is doing exactly what I've been doing with my mother as well. She is trying to find a way to make sense of her life according to what her soul is here to learn and what she's here to experience. And so she's doing exactly what it is that she's supposed to do. So that is from a different level. And also because I remember, I don't know how long ago, it's maybe about 2 years ago now, just before I kind of felt my daughter pulling away from me, is that I like her soul came to talk to me, um, and really told me something very short. It's just I still remember the words. The words is, Mom, I have to pull away from the family dynamics because I needed to accomplish something. So that was a message that her soul told me. And from that onwards, I think I started to kind of realize or really feel the more that my daughter is pulling away from me, and really being able to speak her mind and disagree with me, which I don't mind at all, because I know that that's what it needs to take place. It's not just like a, because I'm talking about because I myself, my vessel is a woman, so I'm talking more about the experience between mother and daughters. However, it's the same thing with my father, with my son. So it's, well, it's similar, and it is the way it is that each generation we have to find um, our own way of making sense of life, find the way that is not just at a personal level, but also at the human collective level as well, because our human collective is always changing from generation to generation. The theme or the what is the focus is changing as well. And um, it's because of all this that there is, it's called the generation gap. And it is true. It is something that on a human level, because of the ideas that we have been playing with, the ideas like you need to obey your parents, obey authority, and be with part of the group, because if you're alone, you're vulnerable. You need people around you that approves of you, agree with you, and you have to rely on your family. You have to take care of family members. And so all of these ideas is actually part of the, I would say, part of the, I don't want to use the word control, but I think that's the, the best way to really the word is that, like, this kind of thinking that you have to obey authority, you have to be part of the herd, part of the community, and conformity, that really is a the program to make sure that we don't um, get into that we don't find out who we truly are, that we don't we that's the program that really helps us to not remember who we truly are. Because if we are all encouraged to find out who we are and seek our individuality, we can, it's so much easier for us to start to remember who we are, and also so much easier for us to recover all our innate abilities and powers and sovereignty. So that's why for the last 10,000 years, the programming it has always been follow the herd, follow authority, obey, and conform and be in this box. And I'm saying this not to say that there's anything wrong with 3D. There really is nothing wrong with that. We all agreed. on some level, maybe not the conscious level, but on some level, because we know that this is what the playground is going to be like before we incarnate. So on some level, we agree to play this way. And it is now that we, as a collective, decided that we want to go to at the next level, we want to go to a fifth dimension, which is very different. So we collectively are busting out of these beliefs. Not that there is anything wrong with them. It is just that in order for us to go on to play at a very different level, we have to leave these ideas behind, and we have to start to discover who we truly are and really look deep inside. And I've kind of given you the example of how I moved myself from fifth dimension, from third dimension to fifth dimension, is really looking at the stories that my mind is telling me when I'm playing at just the physical level, and just um, really thinking that I am this body. If I am this body, then I, like, my mother is really the one that gave me like, gave me life itself, and I gave life to my daughter. So there is this kind of ownership. There is a lot of these programs that is so it makes sense from a I am this body level, from this very material based, body based, we are all disconnected level. That's the third dimension level. That's really all that's the play. However, from a fifth dimension, from the soul perspective, it's very different. From the soul perspective, all the stories that I associate with when I was playing at the third dimension level does not hold true anymore. I know that my daughter is doing exactly what it is that she needed to do, and I support her to do that. And my mother is also there to support me to do, for me to be who I am. So all of these things, and I'm only talking about this one relationship, like the relationship between like me and my ex, and all of those things, so many other ideas that we play with, or stories and narratives that we play with on the third dimension level, which really does not make sense once we shift into getting to be identified with our soul. Then all this would start to drop off, and that is really when I mentioned that balancing our heart, because all of these stories, it really close the effect of these the stories of that we play with, or that I have played with in third dimension, believing that I need to do this, that I'm this vulnerable person. All of this really shuts the heart down, really shuts down our heart and shuts down that access. However, just because it is shut down and we feel contracted, it does not mean that we are not connected with our soul. We are always connected with our soul, and our soul would always try to bring things, or I would say arrange events and experiences in our lives, so that we can start to we still have to make that choice whether we are ready to move on, to start to pay attention to our soul and treasure that connection with our soul. So, for example, for me, I mentioned that I felt there's just something lacking in my work life. That's why I started to look for something else. I started to take weekend courses, go to like I've been to a lot of these self-help weekend, maybe a couple of hours kind of events. And it is through a few of these events that I really got glimpses of that something bigger than life. And and I recognize that there is this resonance within me. There's something that I feel drawn to. This curiosity that I really was able to start to spend more and more time investigating. What is this energy thing? What is this thing that is within me that I cannot see, but it has this power. It's this innate um, power that I can feel. When I first started to feel the energy, it really shattered a lot of my, I would say, beliefs about what is real. Because previously, my programming was, if I don't feel it, if I don't see it, if I can't touch it with my fingers, my hand, if I don't bump into it, then it's not real, which was my mother's thinking. But when I started to explore, and my soul took this opportunity to let me experience energy, something that I cannot see, but I can actually feel. So, and of course, the more I spend time on it, the more is I open up to receive more, to so that's really the soul itself coming through my heart, because I am simply following what brings me joy. And I really enjoy working with energy, playing with energy. So that is the that is how my soul got in, is really all this curiosity, through my curiosity about playing and learning about energy. So even in third dimension, our soul is still connected to us, and it will conspire to bring us experiences that will start to wake us up, wake us up. And the more we can follow this breadcrumb and follow these whatever it is that brings you joy, that brings joy to your heart, and start exploring, that is really the way to start to open your heart, is really to follow your joy, opening your heart. And now that the energies and everything is completely supportive of us being connected with our heart, then the rest is really up to us. It's up to us each to recognize when our heart is out of balance. So how do we know our heart is out of balance? I already mentioned, is you are joy, light, love. And each and every one of us, that's who we are: joy, light, love. And if you cannot feel joy, light, love in your life, then you know that there is something out of balance in your heart. It's because there's something that is, you haven't quite integrated, you haven't quite um, let go of, you haven't quite mixed sense of yet. That's why it is really blocking, and it's clouding the lens that the light of your soul is trying to shine through. So whatever it is that you feel is really shutting you down, taking away your joy, light, and love, And what is light? So light is really truth. The when circumstances or certain ideas distract you from the truth of who you are, which is the light of who you are, the wisdom, then that is the when then you know that that event, that person, or those things, activities are is what is there's something connected with all that that is really unbalancing you. And throughout this whole month, I think we have this is the fifth episode within October. Throughout this month, I've talked about a lot of ways to how to balance yourself, whether it is through balancing your energy, balancing your emotions, all those things you can use in order to balance your heart. The most important thing is really to notice when your heart is not balanced or when you cannot feel joy, light, love. What takes you out of joy, light, love? And then start to shift your perspective. It is really not the person outside. It is not the activities. It is the reason why you don't feel that joy, light, love is that there's usually some ideas that you or the stories I would it's more appropriate is the stories or the way you talk to yourself and the way that you judge your activity or the people around you or your interaction with other people that is out of balance with who you truly are. That's the things that you need to look at. Look at is look at with in neutrality. That's the best way. And I think the what I can really suggest is to or really suggest is to disengage from these activities, whether they are people, or maybe are videos, or maybe are social media, any kind of communication, food, drinks, because food and drinks are really codes because we are energy. The food we eat provides energy. So if the energy is at a lower vibration, then it really it distorts our energy field and also distorts how our body can process energy. The same thing with things that we drink as well. So it's not just the people we spend our time with. It's not just the food that we eat, the drinks that we eat, the ideas that we allow our um, into our life as well. So all of these things is really one simple way is to be really selective to consume high vibration sustenance. Sustenance meaning ideas, food, drinks, and activities. All of those things are really our sustenance. It sustains us. So it really sustains us, body, mind, and soul. So those that really is one of the best way to start to balance our heart is to disengage from thoughts that drags us down, disengage from activities, disengage from food and drinks and situations that drags our vibration down. And also the other biggest suggestion that I want to remind everyone, I know I've talked about it quite a bit, is really to be in your heart. So drop into your heart. And when you're in your heart, when you truly focus on your heart, then you actually knows pretty much right away whether something resonates with you or not. Because if you pay attention to your heart, you like someone that is matching or it's high vibration, you have this, you're drawn to those things. So when you drop into your heart, when you focus in your heart, it's also much easier to let go of your internal dialogue that is maybe still hasn't quite let go of all the things about or the internal dialogue that you're not good enough, you're vulnerable, you have to be afraid, you have to um you have to have other people approve of you in order to feel safe. So all those things, it's actually much easier when you stay in your heart, when you really um, pay attention consciously to only consume high vibrational sustenance. And of course, last and not least, I want to repeat something, is that there's nothing wrong with programs. There's nothing wrong with 3D, nothing wrong with any kind of thoughts. There's nothing wrong with low vibration. Nothing is wrong with it. um, it's an experience. Third dimension is it's an experience, is a way of experiencing life. I'm talking when I say to avoid the or to really consume only high vibrational sustenance. It's only if you want to move into fifth dimension, then those are the things that you need to do in order for you to let go of third dimension and third dimensional kind of life. I'm not in any way implying that there's anything wrong with 3D. Not at all. I'm just saying that if you want to go into fifth dimension, then these are the things that you need to do in order to start to disengage your investment of playing in third dimension or of living this your life in third dimension. So that's what I mean. And also that also to remember that it's not at a 3D level right now because of the transition, because the whole collective wanted to go into fifth dimension. That's why, like all of these what's playing out in the political arena about the virus and all of that, regardless of where you stand, regardless of any of that, all of this is actually it's a play, it's a game. We are each simply playing a role, just like my mother is playing a role for me, just like my daughter is playing a role for me. So is my son, so was my father, so is my all of these people in my lives, they're simply playing a role. Just like the politicians, they are simply playing a role. Some of them are doing, like, perceived to be doing things that are really terrible, horrible. How could they be so out of integrity? And I just want to say that yes, at a third dimension, if you subscribe to duality, there is right and wrong, light and dark. Yes. If you're playing with duality, then there's some people that's really doing very hurtful and really disrespectful of life, really those things. However, they are simply also playing the game, playing the three-dimensional, the third dimensional game. They are simply taking on the role of the dark. They simply, and we simply, some of us who are not, who don't want to hurt other people, who tried our best to love other people, we think of ourselves as playing the role of the good guy. However, there is, how should I say it? Is that um, if you don't focus on your body, if you can really look at it from a different angle, if you don't focus on a body, then you would be able to um, conceive the idea that the people that are playing the dark role and the people that are playing the light role on a third dimension level, they are different bodies. But at a fifth dimension level, at this level of the soul, that soul is indivisible, that we are actually all one. We are all one, that we are simply playing out the role because within our heart, there is this imbalance that has created this duality in our role. And we have to see some people as being bad, and we have to see some people as being good. So when we actually work on balancing our own heart, we also get to the point that we can actually let go of duality. And that's when we can all understand that everyone is simply playing a role. And that when we all come together and decided that we don't want to play this game anymore, we want to remember that we are all one, and remember that what how I treat that person, whether I am good to them or whether I'm perceived as being bad to them, I'm actually, that's how I treat myself as well, because that person is just another aspect of me. And when you look at it from that perspective, from that higher perspective of fifth dimension, then you really realize that that's why balancing your heart and self-love, loving yourself is so important, because when you balance your heart, when you can feel the truth of who you are, which is joy, light, love, then you can't play this role anymore. You can't play the light, dark role anymore, because everyone is simply another aspect of you. And when you can actually heal and balance your heart, then you have no interest in playing this game of duality. And that's really what being in fifth and also higher dimensions is about. It's very different. And right now we are going through that process. So it feels like we are laden with all these programs that is distorting our heart. And it is actually when you let go of that struggle, when you start to be in your heart, then actually when you connect, the more you connect with your heart, be in your heart, it is really the easiest way. You don't have to let go of the programs, because when you're in your heart, the programs will just dissolve on its own. It's simply when you listen to, or if you pay attention, if you put more focus on the stories in your head that you have adopted from a different, at a different dimension, which is the third dimension and lower dimension, all those ideas when you start to be in your heart and start to connect with your soul and have compassion for yourself and have compassion for everyone else as well, then those programs will start to drop off. That's why I give you some suggestions of what you can do. However, the most important suggestion is really to be in your heart. The heart will show you how to balance it out very naturally. Being in your heart is really the secret to balancing your heart. It is only when you're not in your heart, when you're not focused in your heart, that's when you can get out of balance. When you start to listen to your head, when your head is telling you and what other people are telling you, that's when you can get imbalanced. So that's why I leave it till the last episode to give you the secret of all secret to going into the fifth dimension is really simply to be in your heart. And when you're in your heart and really focus on that and focus on compassion, your heart will stream the light of your soul through you and start to balance it out. And all the other ideas of you're vulnerable, you're not good enough, all those ideas simply drop off when you really take that time to spend that time with your heart and not to listen to your head or other conversations that is distracting you from being in your heart. And that's all I have to say about this balancing the heart.